Funny thing about names, they're not just labels, are they? No, names carry weight. A name can raise the dead or bury the living. And when God whispers one into your ear, not softly, not sweetly, but like a warning siren slicing through your ribs, that's not revelation, sweetheart, that's a message. A message dipped in fire. See, most people ask for signs. They beg for clarity, pray for truth, chant about wanting to see things for what they really are. But when that truth shows up wearing someone's name like a weapon, they freeze. They stutter. They start pretending they didn't hear it. You ever get that feeling? That twitch in your gut, the kind that doesn't come with a warning label, but it screams anyway. Yeah, that. It's not anxiety. It's not overthinking. It's your body pulling the fire alarm while your mind keeps painting over the smoke. People call it intuition, instinct, maybe even paranoia if they're feeling clever. But here's the joke, it's always been right. That ache in your chest when they enter the room. That sudden chill when they say your name a little too sweetly. That way your loud laughter dies the second they walk in. Not because they've done anything, oh no, not yet, but because something deep down, buried beneath your hope, already knows it starts small. You start apologizing for things you didn't do. You flinch when they praise you because it always feels like a setup. You talk less, not because you have nothing to say, but because everything you say seems to echo wrong in their ears. And still you stay. You justify. You tell yourself everyone has bad days. You patch the cracks with patience, slap duct tape on your discomfort, and call it growth. But it's not growth, it's denial dressed in optimism. And all the while, that twitch, that tightness, that whisper, it's growing. Teeth, because the body doesn't lie. The body doesn't need closure or proof. It doesn't care about their excuses, their tears, their perfectly rehearsed sob stories. The body reacts to energy. It reacts to threats. It reacts to lies long before your brain can process the betrayal. Your heartbeat speeds up around them, but not the kind that comes from love. It's the kind that comes from standing too close to a cage with something wild inside. You don't call it danger yet, but your nervous system already has. Every part of you has already started pulling away, even as your hands keep reaching toward the fire. And then one day, bam, the name, clear as glass. Not whispered by someone else, not dug up in a conversation, not exposed by some scandalous twist. No. The name comes from somewhere higher, somewhere older, somewhere that doesn't play with shadows. The name just drops. And suddenly, everything clicks. The mood swings, the manipulation, the guilt that never belonged to you. It all lines up. And the joke, the punchline, you already knew it. You just didn't want to know, so when the name shows up, it's not a revelation, it's confirmation. It's a courtroom verdict for a crime your soul already reported. But now there's no room left for pretending. Now it's not just a feeling, it's fact. And still, what do most people do? They doubt themselves. Even when the truth is screaming, they whisper, but maybe I'm overreacting. No, sweetheart. You're finally reacting. That twitch, that ache, that throb in your chest, that was your spirit trying to drag you away from the fire before you burn to ash. You can lie to your friends. You can lie to your therapist. You can even lie to your mirror. But your nervous system, that traitor tells the truth every time. That lump in your throat when they hug you. That dizziness when you talk to them. That bone-deep fatigue after every conversation. Those weren't coincidences. Those were your alarms, internal sirens you've been hitting the snooze button on for months. Maybe years. You kept trying to be the bigger person, the patient one, the yours. But here's the truth they never tell you. Your body will always blow your cover. It will always start screaming before your mouth does, because the spirit doesn't play politics. It doesn't care about your attachments. It only cares about your survival. And when the name is finally revealed, it's not interested in your excuses. It just wants to know, what are you going to do now? Ignore the twitch. Keep brushing off the signals. Let them linger like a loaded gun pointed at your peace. Or finally listen to what your body has been trying to tell you all along. Because that gut feeling, that wasn't fear, that wasn't panic. That was prophecy with a heartbeat. And it was right all along. They always make it about you, don't they? Like you're the problem. Like your distance is betrayal and your silence is rudeness. They love to twist it, oh they live for that, but here's the reality check, the one no one wants to hear. The name you were shown isn't your burden to carry. It's your cue to get out. People think when truth arrives, it comes with a golden robe and soft music, some elegant speech about forgiveness and healing and growth. No. When truth really lands, it kicks the door in and tells you to grab your things. You get shown their name for a reason. It doesn't happen randomly. It's not a glitch in your emotions. That name, their name was lit up for you like neon in the dark because something up there finally got tired of watching you bleed politely. You didn't want to see it, of course you didn't. You were too busy loving their potential, too loyal to the version of them that only existed in your imagination. And now the mask is off. And guess what's underneath? Not a mistake. Not a wounded soul. Just a pattern. A cycle. A choice wearing skin, but still here you are, clutching the guilt like it's yours. Like their name was a test you failed. Maybe I was too cold. Maybe I didn't communicate enough. Maybe they're going through something. No more mabes. No more emotional acrobatics trying to justify someone else's chaos. Their name came to you not as a burden to fix, but as a warning. Like the last line of a bad script, get out before the fire starts eating the walls. You think loyalty means suffering in silence. You think kindness means sacrificing your own soul on the altar of someone else's mess. Let me tell you what that is. It's emotional hostage taking. And you've been paying the ransom with your joy. And the worst part, they never even said thank you. They took your softness and mistook it for stupidity. They took your forgiveness and treated it like a guarantee. And now that the truth has shown you their name, they want to gaslight your instincts into silence. They'll say you've changed. That's their go-to. They'll say you're acting different. But they won't mention how your smile stopped being real around them. They won't mention the 100 times you bit your tongue so you wouldn't start a war. They won't mention the way your energy shriveled every time they walked in like a storm pretending to be a person. No, they won't talk about that. But they'll sure talk about how distant you've become. As if you owe them closeness after what they did with your trust. You want to save them. That's the most dangerous part. You still want to save them. You still remember the good days, the laughter, the moments that felt real. But nostalgia is a liar. It edits the footage, keeps the parts that felt good, and deletes the ones where you were crying in silence. You keep hoping for a plot twist. That one day they'll wake up and become the person you thought they were. But no one wakes up by accident. Transformation isn't magic, it's a decision. And they haven't made it. They don't want to, so when the name is revealed, the move isn't to heal them. It's to heal yourself away from them. Distance isn't cruelty. Boundaries aren't punishment. The most sacred thing you can do is honor the warning and stop pretending it was a suggestion. This isn't your project. You weren't born to be a repair shop for people who break you like a habit. You weren't created to be a cushion for someone else's sharp edges. You weren't given discernment just to ignore it because you're scared of being alone. Let them think you're cold. Let them call you dramatic. Let them sit in confusion. They don't need to understand your exit. They just need to get used to your absence. And you don't need to explain a damn thing. That name came to you like a storm, and storms don't explain, they warn. And when you ignore a warning, you don't get points for loyalty. You just get wrecked. Funny thing about loyalty. It sounds noble, doesn't it? All shiny and golden like a badge you wear on your chest. I'm loyal. I stick around. I don't give up on people. That's the story you tell yourself. That's how they get you. Because somewhere along the way you forgot that loyalty has an expiration date when it's pointed at the wrong target. And while you were out there giving second chances like candy, the universe was trying to break the signal jam in your head just long enough for you to hear it, that name. But you didn't want to hear it. You were busy investing in someone who only showed up when it was convenient. You held the rope tighter every time they pulled away. You convinced yourself that if I just hold on longer, love harder, try more, they'll come around. But love isn't CPR. You can't keep breathing life into something that flatlined the moment they decided not to care. And here's the real kicker. Every minute you stayed loyal to the wrong person, you delayed what was meant for you. You postponed peace. You gave your energy to a question mark that never deserved to be part of your sentence. You thought you were building something strong, but what you were really doing was stacking red flags and calling it a home. And all that time, your spirit was screaming underneath the surface. Leave, run, escape. But you dressed it up in hope and told it to sit quietly in the corner while you kept trying to paint roses on a wall of thorns. See, the universe doesn't yell right away. It starts with whispers. It nudges you, sends signs, but when you ignore them long enough, it starts throwing bricks. It shows you the name. It cuts through the noise. It strips away the charm, the charisma, the sweet lies. And when that moment comes, you don't get to say, I didn't know. You knew, you just didn't want to move, but let's not pretend this was all about them. No, let's go deeper. Let's talk about what you were really doing. You weren't just being loyal. You were avoiding abandonment. You were trying to prove to someone, maybe even a ghost from your past, that you wouldn't leave, that you were different, that you were the one who stays. You made it your mission to be irreplaceable, even if it meant replacing your own joy with survival tactics. And while you were proving your worth to someone who never saw it, time was slipping away. That's the cost. That's the price tag they never show you. Loyalty to the wrong person doesn't just break your heart, it delays your destiny. It puts your real life on hold. It chains you to a version of yourself that lives in reaction to someone else's dysfunction. You stop creating. You stop dreaming. You start shrinking bit by bit, until you wake up one day and realize you don't even recognize the version of you that once had fire in their eyes and the tragedy. You still think it's your fault. You still think if I'd just been better, they would have stayed. But some people don't deserve better. Some people only exist to teach you what betrayal dressed as love looks like. And their purpose isn't to be saved. Their purpose is to be seen clearly and left behind. Because only when you let go of the false loyalty can the real blessings start tracking you again. There's no medal for suffering in silence. No award for dragging someone's dead weight across the finish line. You don't get extra credit for loving someone who keeps poisoning your spirit. What you get is tired. What you get is lost. And when you finally do wake up, when the name is etched into your mind like a final warning, that's not pain, that's clarity. That's the universe handing you the key to the cell you've been locked in, but even with the key in your hand, the door doesn't open unless you turn it. You can't outrun the truth, but you can delay your healing. You can spend years thinking your loyalty is holy while your soul is screaming for an exit. That's not love. That's martyrdom. That's self-sacrifice in a rigged game. And you already know how this ends if you don't choose differently. That name wasn't shown to you so you could keep playing hero in someone else's tragedy. It was shown so you'd stop writing yourself into their story altogether. You ever notice how sometimes you hold on tighter the more someone slips away? Like gripping smoke, thinking maybe this time it'll stay. Maybe this time if I just love a little louder, break myself into the right shape, twist my words just right, maybe they'll finally see me. But here's the catch, you weren't blind. No, that's the story they like to sell you. You didn't see the signs, you ignored the truth. You let them in too deep. But you did see. Every single thing, you just wanted to believe the version of them that never existed outside your hope. See, that's the trick. It's not that they fooled you. It's that you needed them to be someone so badly, you built them out of spare parts and daydreams. You saw the cracks, but you called them character. You saw the coldness, but named it mystery. You turned every red flag into a challenge, every wound into a puzzle you thought you could solve. You weren't blind. You were building. Constructing a person in your mind who could love you the way you deserved. Even though the real one never had any plans to learn, and deep down, oh, you knew. That twinge in your stomach when they spoke too sweetly. That flicker behind their eyes when they made promises. That strange silence when you needed support the most. You didn't miss any of it. You just explained it away. Because it's easier to protect a fantasy than it is to face the devastation of being wrong about someone you gave everything to. You weren't blind. You were busy dressing up their emptiness in costumes of potential. You told your friends they're just going through something. You told yourself they love me in their own way. You filled in their silences with your own words, tried to make sense of the cure to their black and white soul. But they never asked you to do that, did they? No. They just stood there and let you do the work. Let you believe. Let you bleed. Let you build this entire version of them that they never earned, never matched, never intended to live up to. You were not delusional. You were desperate. Desperate for the story to be true. Desperate for this person to be what your heart begged for. Desperate to not have to start over again. So you stayed, not because you couldn't see, but because you could. And it terrified you. Because admitting they weren't who you hoped they were meant confronting the fact that you ignored yourself, because that's the part that cuts the deepest, not just the betrayal, not just the games, not just the lies. It's realizing that the whole time your gut was screaming, you were the one who hit mute. You muted yourself for their comfort. You shut down your own insight to give them the benefit of the doubt. You stabbed your intuition in the back so they wouldn't have to feel convicted by your truth. And in the end, it was never about who they were. It was about who you thought they might become. You didn't fall in love with them. You fell in love with potential, with the idea, with the illusion. And that's the dangerous part about hope. It can handcuff you to a nightmare while you keep calling it a dream. You'll stay loyal to a ghost. You'll keep setting yourself on fire just to light up someone else's shadows. You'll bend your own morals, twist your boundaries, erase your identity, all for a person who never even brought a match to help you burn brighter. And then the truth, their name shows up. The real them stands naked in front of your illusion, and you can't unsee it. That's not heartbreak, that's awakening. That's the moment you realize you weren't blind. You were brave. Brave enough to imagine something better. Brave enough to believe in someone. Brave enough to love. But now it's time to be brave in a different way. Not by holding on, but by letting go of the version you created and facing the one who never deserved to be the main character in your story to begin with. You know, with your gut. People always say trust takes time, like it's some sacred little process, fragile and slow, like planting a tree or raising a child. The lies. Oh, lies move fast. Lies come dressed in everything you've ever wanted. They don't need time, they need opportunity. And the best part, you gave them that. With both hands. You opened the door and smiled as they walked in, wearing the face of your desires and the voice of your comfort. And when the truth started knocking, you told it to wait outside, see. That's what hurts more than anything. Not the lie itself, but how easy it was to believe it. You weren't tricked. You wanted to believe. That's the part no one likes to admit. That it felt better to cling to the lie than to face the silence. That the illusion gave you something, purpose maybe, stability maybe, a feeling of control in a life spinning off its hinges. So you ignored the cracks. You filled in the blanks with your own words, your own hope, your own narrative. You made excuses. You called inconsistency mystery. You called manipulation passion. And you called pain proof that it mattered. And you kept going, didn't you? Even when the facts were right there. Even when reality was flashing its high beams in your face. You kept choosing the version of them that only existed in your heart. Because to admit the lie would mean admitting you were building your world on fiction. That the comfort you were wrapped in was stitched from red flags and broken boundaries. And you weren't ready to lose the fantasy. Not yet. The lies don't age well. They rot slowly, quietly. Until one day you wake up and the truth is sitting on your chest like a weight you can't shake off. And you feel it. In the pit of your stomach. In the silence between the words. In the way they look at you like a stranger wearing your lover's skin. You try to ignore it, but lies are loud when they're dying. They start screaming for attention. And then one day it happens. A crack, a slip, a reveal. The truth doesn't whisper anymore. It shouts. You see their name, and for a moment you're frozen, because the lie felt like home. And even a burning house is hard to leave when it's the only shelter you've known. But make no mistake, it's burning. And you either walk out now, or you stay and learn how it feels to be turned into ashes by something you once called love. And here's the thing, they know what they're doing. Oh, they know. They didn't lie to protect you. They lied because it served them, because it was easy, because your belief in them was more useful than your truth. They saw your hope as a tool, your loyalty as leverage. They fed off the version of themselves you created and kept you close just enough to keep the illusion alive. But they never earned that pedestal. You built it for them, brick by brick. Out of every time you said, maybe I'm overthinking, every time you swallowed the doubt, every time you slide when you should have screamed, and now what? You're left holding the truth like it's a weapon. But it's not. It's your freedom. It's your release. It's the thing that finally cuts the strings. The lie did what it came to do. It taught you, not about them, about you, about how far you'll go to protect your illusion, about how much of yourself you'll give to someone who never planned to give anything real in return. You think it was love, but love doesn't hide. Love doesn't confuse. Love doesn't force you to dim your light just to keep the peace. Love doesn't require you to become small, silent, suspicious. That wasn't love. That was a performance. And now, curtains closed. The act is over. The costume's off. Their name is clear and the lie is dead. And you've got a decision to make. You can keep mourning the lie, or you can start building your life around the truth you always knew but were too afraid to admit was right and frayed.